Blessings. Thank you to the great spirits of creation and nature and everyone for tuning in and being present and showing up. So, as promised, I am going to share a spiritual download from the Pine teachers. It's been such an incredibly powerful experience. Hopefully you got to see a little bit. Singing my Pine song here at the beginning. That's one of the songs I sing when collecting. It's a very sacred exchange. It's a very spiritual experience to be involved with this being and participate in a sacred way, in a sacred relationship, and learn about this understanding. So we can think about the pines and the fact that they have adapted and they're everywhere on the planet. And one of the largest organisms, if not the largest organism, it's a combination of mycelium and pine trees out in California or through California, Oregon, or all that good stuff up on the West Coast. And the redwoods and the mycelial mass, and essentially the largest functioning brain on the planet, if we think about it, the largest and the longest and the oldest. That really came through this week. I was very grateful and blessed to share space with my friends and collect the pine pollen and harvest it and spend a lot of time in ceremony and enjoying the medicine. And was abstaining from a lot of things and was very focused on harvesting the medicine and eating well and staying hydrated and just enjoying the pine medicine mostly. And I did realize after the fact that I had a very, very spiritual experience, what most people would consider or pay lots of money for a similar kind to ayahuasca grandmother experience, but without all of the purging and puking and all of that. So if we think about it, the pine, if we know the doctrine of signatures, so the doctrine of signatures of a plant means that the plant looks like the organ that it's going to help. Walnuts will help your brain, kidney beans will help your kidney, and so on throughout nature. So a lot of times the doctrine of signatures is present in a plant. So if we look at the pine tree and the pine cone, it looks a lot like the pineal gland of a human being. Pineal gland in the center of your brain, seated at the top of your spinal column, the head of your central nervous system, the central organ in your brain that is responsible for producing DMT, the spirit molecule. Hopefully you have some familiarity with that. If not, you can take a look, Google it. Joe Rogan's got good info. There's a lot of good books. You definitely want to know DMT and the pineal gland and have a good, healthy relationship to that. And I was reminded how, the doctrine of signatures is a very clear indicator of, hey, I look like this part of you, I have medicine for you in me. And if we look at the pine tree, I believe it's actually one of the sacred seven that's been touted, along with cannabis and coconut and tulsi. So pine is super medicine. You can use it to build houses and structures and fires. It's prolific. It's evergreen. It's evolved its needles to become round like nature and cylindrical so that it can absorb the sun anytime, winter or summer. So it survives through the winter. It chooses which leaves to let go of and which to keep. And it is just simply adapted through everything. And then the sap can be used as a medicine, as a beneficial tool, the tar, the resin, the bark, and the pollen. And I am very grateful to be producing the pine pollen tincture, the pine pollen medicine, so that in the way that you can take it, because the pollen is so large and normally can't get into your system. But when you crack it through a process of freezing it and making sure that the cell walls are cracked and then cover it in alcohol, the essence of the pine medicine can then come into your body. And it is probably nature's most nutrient-rich superfood. Scientifically speaking, it has everything that you need. It will help balance all of your minerals, magnesium. It helps build your adrenals. So it will give you the same high as coffee, but instead of the crash afterwards, because coffee taps into your adrenals and drains them, pine pollen just builds it, and then the high that you get is from the excess, so that when it comes down, you're nice and even. So it helps build testosterone. It helps rid your body of phytoandrogens and phytoestrogens and xenoandrogens and xenoestrogens. And it is androgenic, so it is male favoring, the pollen, of course, because it's coming from the male producing part of the plant. And it can be taken, though, by both males and females, because just like everyone and everything we have, just like the pine tree has both masculine and feminine and has male and female pine cones, we have masculine and feminine energy in us, and it's important to honor the balance of masculine and feminine within ourselves as well as within each other and within the world. So when we can balance out our testosterone and estrogen through a healthy relationship to pine medicine, it can be a daily thing. Pine pollen medicine can be daily for men, and it can be every other day or every 1 day on, 2 days off for females, depending on their system and how it ultimately works for them. But I was very much reminded of how powerful and important this medicine is. For me, it's an antidepressant. It builds energy and enables me to connect and do good things in the world. And it makes sense because it's supporting my body in such a way that it allows me to, if I'm being mindful and pay attention and move my body, and I'm disciplined, and I do set my intentions to do good works and follow through on those things, that I am supported by this, and it does give me energy and make it so that I can make good decisions and make better decisions, and in times of stress especially handle those stressful situations from a good, wise, supported place, like a high view, like a high spiritual view, like a pineal gland view, like a pine high up in the pine trees, high up in the redwoods, high up, high up in the trees, at the very top, looking over it all, so we can make a good decision about life and how to manage it, and where we should put things, and where we should invest our time and our energy, and the importance of staying connected to spirit and honoring life as sacred, and honoring that relationship between us, and living in a way that allows us to do that. So such an incredibly powerful message, and there's so much more to go into, but we only get the 10 minutes. So I encourage you to cultivate the relationship with pine pollen. I'll put up more of a how-to on how to collect the pollen and how to sit and sing and all that good stuff, but come up with your own version and go sit with the pine trees right now if they have pollen, and figure out how to collect that pollen and figure out how to make medicine. Reach out to me. Thank you for being present. Blessings. All life is sacred.